Welcome to the Economist in Your Ear podcast. So here's a question. When the world's most valuable chip maker offers to fund its biggest customers' purchases, we're talking $100 billion. Is that just brilliant strategy? Locking in dominance? Or, Silicon Valley basically building house of cards here on some really risky kind of circular debt?
Yeah.
That tension, that's really what we need to get into today. We're looking closely at Nvidia's recent letter of intent, planning to invest up to $100 billion in OpenAI. And the stated goal is very specific, right? It's to help OpenAI build out this massive infrastructure. We're talking up to 10 gigawatts of Nvidia systems.
Yeah, millions of GPUs.
Millions. And this isn't just a simple VC investment. It feels much bigger. It's complex, critical, tying the key supplier to its biggest customer like never before.
And that level of interdependence, well, that's exactly why some analysts immediately flagged it. They used pretty strong words like incestuousness. Right. And they highlighted these circular dynamics. Now, look, the market loves it right now. Of course it does. It looks like guaranteed revenue for Nvidia, guaranteed scaling for OpenAI. But if you peel back the layers, the financial structure, it really amplifies the risk. If AI demand, or maybe the monetization, suddenly falters, then the failure becomes circular too. It hits both of them hard right on the balance sheet. What's fascinating here is how these financial mechanics are fundamentally reshaping the relationship between supplier and buyer. This isn't, normal B2B stuff.
Not at all.
We're literally talking about the supplier giving capital to the customer.
So the customer can buy the supplier's products.
Exactly. It creates this really unusual, almost self-funding kind of economic loop.
Okay, let's unpack this structure then, because the scale is it's hard to get your head around. It's not standard investment. It feels like vendor financing, but, a trillion-dollar scale.
Yeah, trillion scale vibes is a good way to put it.
And it looks less like a pure tech bet and much more like, sophisticated levered finance. The core of it seems tied to physical milestones, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Analysts suggest that for every gigawatt of capacity OpenAI builds,
Nvidia puts in $10 billion.
Right, up to that 10 GW total. So that implies a pretty specific structure for the purchases. Like, for every $35 billion in systems OpenAI buys, Nvidia invests $10 billion back into OpenAI.
That's the implied math, yeah. And if you look at that split, that's the key. It basically means OpenAI is paying about, 71% in cash?
Okay.
And the other 29% is funded through the equity, the shares that OpenAI gives to NVIDIA. And that structure is just ruthlessly efficient for NVIDIA. It guarantees what they call GPU pull-through, basically a decade of massive sales locked in.
Right, guarantees the demand because they're funding part of it.
Exactly. And it makes it much harder for competitors to get a foothold.
It's a masterclass in customer capture, like you said. But what does holding, potentially 29% equity actually do for NVIDIA inside OpenAI?
Well, it shifts them, doesn't it, from just being a supplier to being a significant minority owner with a very, very vested strategic interest.
And that interest isn't just passive support.
No, not at all. It's defensive. By locking in this huge commitment and funding part of it, NVIDIA makes OpenAI incredibly reliant on their specific tech stack. So this acts as a disincentive financially for OpenAI to push too hard or too fast on developing its own custom chips, ASICs.
The application-specific integrated circuits, like Google's TPUs, designed to be cheaper, more efficient, and crucially,
outside the NVIDIA ecosystem, exactly. Now, we know OpenAI is still working on its own chips. That hasn't stopped. But this deal, it definitely ensures NVIDIA stays in the driver's seat for the foreseeable future.
Makes switching away really complicated technically and now financially awkward, too.
Very awkward.
That is a really powerful strategic move. But we absolutely have to stress that first big caveat, right? The one that gets buried.
Yeah, the LOI.
It's only a letter of intent. It's not a done deal. It's not financed yet. New shovels in the ground based purely on this. Timelines, amounts, governance. It's all conditional.
Highly conditional on hitting milestones we don't even know the details of yet. It's a promise based on future execution.
And that execution piece.
That's the really hard part. And that LOI caveat leads us straight into the biggest physical hurdle, the one the market, focusing on silicon, often downplays. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the real bottleneck isn't just making enough GPUs. NVIDIA is pretty good at that.
Right.
The real challenge is the power math and the sheer execution risk of building out the physical infrastructure. The timeline here is dictated by concrete and steel and utility access, not just chip delivery.
We really have to try and grasp that scale. 10 gigawatt It sounds abstract, but to put it in perspective for you, 10 gigawatts is like the output of 10 modern nuclear power plants.
Yeah, it's staggering.
This isn't just adding servers to a rack. This is a significant slice of all the new utility-scale power the entire U.S. adds in, what, half a year?
Something like that. It's huge.
And that ambition just slams right into the messy reality of engineering and, frankly, local politics. You're talking about getting land,
and permits,
navigating those endless transmission queues just to plug into the grid.
Needing massive substation upgrades.
Crawling through permitting? Forget the finance for a second. This is a massive civil engineering project.
Yeah.
Utility scale stuff.
The fact that we're talking about power purchase agreements, PPAs, in the same breath as GPU specs, well, that tells you everything, doesn't it?
It really does.
And it forces the timeline to slow right down. I mean, their own estimates suggest the first gigawatt. It isn't even scheduled to ship until the second half of 2026.
2026, that's still 2 years away.
And if that 2026-2027 timeline slips, maybe because of grid issues or power sourcing headaches, the whole revenue plan for Nvidia slips with it.
And OpenAI's spending plans get thrown into chaos.
Creates huge volatility. And Sam Altman, he's acknowledged this. He cited the unprecedented infrastructure challenge as one of the top 3 problems they face, right alongside pushing AI frontiers.
So is the infrastructure dictating the pace now, not just the algorithm?
Very much.
Okay, so shifting from those massive physical hurdles, let's talk about the financial pressure on OpenAI itself. Their spending promises are just monumental compared to their current cash flow.
They're making money, sure, but not that kind of money yet.
Exactly. Revenue's running around, what, $12–13 billion a year? That's impressive, but it's absolutely dwarfed by the spending they're talking about. And this 10 GW Nvidia deal isn't even the only huge commitment, right? There's that reported deal with Oracle. Yeah. Potentially $300 billion.
For 4.5 GW, tied to that Stargate project.
The cumulative sums are just gigantic, which really explains why they need these equity for compute deals, like getting that 29% funded by Nvidia. They simply can't pay for all this growth out of pocket right now.
And this is exactly where those circular dynamics we talked about, where they get dangerous for Nvidia. It comes down to demand risk.
Meaning?
Meaning, what if their models hit a plateau? Or what if the response to, say, GPT-5 is just underwhelming? Or, maybe more critically, what if big enterprise customers start balking at the ROI, questioning if rolling out AI everywhere is worth the cost?
Then OpenAI might have to slow down its orders significantly.
Right. And if OpenAI slows down or can't monetize fast enough to justify the spend, Nvidia isn't just missing out on sales. They're stuck holding a large chunk of equity.
In a company whose valuation might be falling because it couldn't deliver on the infrastructure plans.
That's the amplified circular risk, landing right back on Nvidia's story to the market.
And then there's the whole Microsoft factor, adding another layer of complexity, like a 3-body problem.
That's a good way to think about it. OpenAI is already deeply tied to Microsoft. Azure commitments, existing capital.
Huge commitments.
Huge. Now, Nvidia steps in as another powerful financier, but not Microsoft. That makes that relationship, well, more sensitive.
How does that work logistically? With things like preferred partner status.
Precisely. How do you reconcile that? Both Microsoft and Nvidia arguably have some form of preferred status now, implicitly or explicitly. Both want priority access to the best systems. Both are providing critical funding or financing.
That sounds like it could create some internal tension.
Definitely makes OpenAI's governance and strategic direction much trickier. It's potentially less a partnership, more a 3-way tug of war for priority compute.
And all this entanglement, plus the sheer size of it, it must be attracting regulatory attention. We have to talk about the policy risk.
Absolutely. Antitrust flags are going up.
And the timing. Just before this OpenAI news, Nvidia took that $5 billion stake in Intel.
Yeah, a major competitor.
So taking stakes in a big competitor and your biggest customer, that really ramps up the regulatory heat, doesn't it?
It certainly gets attention. The core question regulators will ask is about fairness, this club goods problem, they call it.
Meaning, does this equity for supply deal give OpenAI privileged access? Priority access to the best chips, the fastest networking, access that smaller players just can't get.
Exactly. If you're a smaller AI startup and you can't get the top-tier chips you need because OpenAI has basically pre-bought capacity using NVIDIA's financing,
then the financial structure itself becomes a barrier to entry, freezing out innovation.
That's the concern. So ultimately, when you step back from all the pieces, the goal here seems pretty clear. This isn't just Nvidia betting on OpenAI's tech success.
It's bigger than that.
It's a strategically guaranteed bet on the AI capital expenditure flywheel itself. Nvidia is basically trying to lock in a decade of GPU demand by helping fund the very infrastructure, the power plants, essentially needed to consume those chips.
So if the demand stays high, and crucially, if the power grid can handle it, Nvidia secures its place at the heart of AI, no matter who wins the actual software race.
That looks like the strategy. It ensures their hardware remains central. This raises an important question, though, about the future structure of the AI ecosystem. If the price of admission is now measured in gigawatts and hundreds of billions, often financed by the supplier, does that consolidation just squeeze out everyone else? Does innovation get stifled if you're not part of this huge circular capital flow?
So what does this all mean when you boil it down? This Nvidia-OpenAI deal, with all its complexity, all its leverage, it really suggests the biggest challenge for AI might not be the next algorithmic breakthrough.
Or even the cost of the silicon itself anymore.
Right. Instead, it might just be, can the global power grid, and maybe just as importantly, local political will, actually sustain the incredible energy and permitting demands needed to power this AI future they're betting trillions on? Thanks for listening. Follow us for daily insights into world affairs, and don't forget to like, comment, and share.